very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
Welcome everyone to the Best Damn Podcast. I am your host, John Keane. As always, I would like to thank you guys for joining me. Ask that you please add, follow, and check us out. www.thebestdampodcast.tv. Follow me Instagram, Facebook, Best Damn Podcast. Twitter, The Real Best Damn, and wherever you're watching from, make sure to hit that like, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and share this link. Get it out there, that way new people can find us. Make sure to subscribe and click the bell, that way you guys get all of the notifications. Check out our tarot videos, astrology videos, conspiracy videos, news videos, and basically so much more. Also, keep in mind, we're completely viewer-powered. That means we're fully funded and supported by you, the listener, and the viewer. If you'd like to donate support to the channel, you can do so by going to PayPal, Venmo, Patreon, Cash App, Facebook Messenger Pay, or getting a Facebook or YouTube subscription. Also, join the Best Damn fam. $33 a month, get access to our private, live, and exclusive content over on Discord, as well as our Dropbox full of our content that is uncensored and too hot for the public platforms. Book your own personal tarot reading. The links and information are in the description box down below. They make great Christmas and birthday gifts for you or for someone else, and plus it's just a cool way to check out the energies and see what's going on in the spiritual world. So tonight we have got quite the episode for you guys. We're going to be kicking it off with some interesting things. There's so much going on right now. We have literally meteors disintegrating over Canada. We're on the verge of geopolitical catastrophe all across the world, it would appear. And it seems like everyone everywhere is going crazy, and it's like the heavens aren't any kinder either. There's so many things going on with the celestial bodies. Many people believe that there is a rogue star system within close proximity to the Earth that's causing all these changes on the planet. Some people believe that this is a solar event that creates all of these changes, the end of a cycle. It's astrological. It's God creating judgment or casting judgment on the people. So many different schools of thought when it comes to what's going on right now, where we are at as far as, our world and our current paradigm. And where is human consciousness going? What direction is humanity going in? I think it's very interesting. So we're going to take a look at some really cool fucking articles tonight and videos tonight, and we're going to talk about it. So we start first with amazing videos. Small asteroid discovered only hours earlier disintegrates over Canada. And you can see the image right here. So you got the image right there. Right there, man. This morning, a small asteroid, which had been discovered only hours earlier, struck the Earth's atmosphere and completely disintegrated over Canada. An automated camera at the CN Tower in Toronto captured the fireball. You know what? There has been so many fucking meteors recently that have hit in people's backyards that have been discovered just mere hours before, impact. It's crazy. Lots of impacts recently. And you see here from Scott Sutherland, science writer, over on Twitter. It says, well, here's a beautiful view of the bolide from the camera that looks up at the tower. You can see the image right there. I think it's a GIF. It's not going to play. Continue watching on Twitter. And astronomer David Rankin found the space rock in survey images taken at Mount Lemmon, Arizona. These observations triggered a warning of an imminent impact. Another hashtag imminent impactor has been spotted, likely less than 1 meter in diameter. This will become a pretty and harmless fireball to observe. Predicted time of atmospheric entry is 8:26 Universal Time over the Great Lakes. And you can see there. 7 observatories were able to photograph the submeteor object before it impacted the Earth's atmosphere on November the 19th. At 8:27 Universal Time over Brantford, Ontario, Canada. And let's see, it's caught on camera in Toronto. There we go. See it over the sky right over here. One more close up. Amazing, amazing. Yeah, you know, and like I said, this is why people think there's a Planet X or something like that out there. You know, and some people just kind of relate this back to, you know, the Northern Torrids and, you know, different meteor showers, comets, asteroids. And we're going to talk about how, you know, asteroids and what they are in astrology tonight too. We're going to take a look at that. They're not a bad thing, right? They're not always a bad omen. And when we look at them in astrology, they're actually something pretty positive. Let's move forward here. We've got so many different articles, so many different topics. How about this one? UK hospital in lockdown. First suspected Ebola case being investigated in the UK. And it's like, God damn. You know, we get over one thing, they push us right into another. You guys know that the whole health crisis shit, what it's being used for. To me, this is just like the war on drugs, the war on terrorism, right? Like, political correctness, you know, safety and security, weapons of mass destruction. How many fucking, you know, different things have we watched take place that was in the name of safety and security and the common good, only to really be some perverse, distorted, creepy, crawly fucking, you know, New World Order, the Illuminati plan of world dominance, right? Yeah. So a potential Ebola case is being investigated in Colchester, England, after a patient who had recently traveled to Africa began showing symptoms of the deadly virus. A potential Ebola case is being investigated in Colchester, England, after a patient who had recently traveled to Africa began showing symptoms of the deadly virus. Health officials temporarily closed part of the Colchester hospital as they work to determine whether the patient has Ebola and, if so, how he or she contracted it. The patient who recently traveled to an affected area is being treated in isolation. Officials said that the temporary closure of part of the facility was to deal with an infection control issue. See the images there. Officials at the UK Health Security Agency said that it's routine to test unwell returning travelers for a variety of infectious diseases. Those infectious diseases included other hemorrhagic fevers that also involve bleeding, such as Lassa fever. The hospital was deep cleaned and then reopened several hours after it was first closed. Colchester Hospital is a district general hospital located at Colchester, Essex. It is managed by East Suffolk and North Essex NHS Foundation Trust and is 70 miles or 113 kilometers away from central London, just 90 minutes away via the A120 and M11 highways. The Telegraph adds, quote, if confirmed, this would be the first Ebola case detected in Britain since 2014, when 2 people were infected in West Africa before traveling to the UK, including Pauline Capricky, a Scottish nurse working to curb the outbreak, which killed 11,000 people. Both of those cases recovered. This would be the first case of the new Sudan strain of the virus, for which there is no approved jab. And because there are no direct flights to UK, and think about that, that's really the critical statement here, fam. This would be the first case of the new strain of this, which there is no approved jab. Right, so what would that agenda be, is the question you should ask yourself. Because there are no direct flights to the UK from Kampala, any infected travelers who make the trip could expose passengers on multiple planes and airports in multiple countries as they make the 11-hour trip between Entebbe International Airport to any British destination. The current outbreak is spreading within Uganda. Here are the new cases and the stats and details, and you can see there. This is outbreak 22. This is the cases, new cases in red. So, and 2022, you can see, right, November, very high, right? The current Ebola outbreak has so far been contained to Uganda, but several neighboring countries have tightened border restrictions and increased testing to ensure the virus does not spread further. 2 districts in Uganda are also in lockdown. The Mubende and Kasanda districts have sent their lockdown times double from 21 days to 42 days in an effort to prevent the disease from spreading. Uganda's capital of Kampala, which has an international airport, has not been locked down recently. Cases have spread from the capital to other regions of the country, such as Jinja near the Kenyan border. Although officials are now publicly projecting confidence that containment is well underway, the government documents show that the Ugandan government expects an explosion in Ebola cases. They anticipate thousands of infections and 500 deaths by May. That's strange, isn't it? That a leaked government document shows that the Ugandan government expects an explosion in cases. They actually anticipate thousands of infections and 500 deaths by May. And we talked about what they did not have, right, for that particular strain already. So why would they anticipate this? Okay? These projections, if accurate, would make the current outbreak the deadliest in Uganda's history. PPE shortages and limited food supplies for those in quarantine appear to be contributing to the increase in cases. And think about this, the emergency powers that are given to governments in these scenarios, right? I'm just saying, the way that they're able to create these green zones and isolate people, they could be targeting, dissenters, targeting, political dissidents or people that are anti-government or, just the opposing party. This could be used for some nasty things, and I believe it already has, to target, political opponents and all kinds of shit, right? And it's used to essentially take power too. Regimes can, manhandle a population and take power in these situations. And extort them for money in the name of PPE and, really do some bad things when it comes to the food supplies and the way that they're allowing the flow of money and supplies within a country too. If leaked, the projections hold, this will be the third deadliest Ebola outbreak in history. The announcement that schools will be closing nationwide in Uganda also underscores the growing intensity of the situation. And what is Ebola? Ebola virus disease is a serious and deadly virus that affects humans and primates. EBD is caused by the Ebola virus. The virus is spread through contact with blood or body fluids of an infected person and can lead to death in 25 to 90% of cases. Early symptoms include fever, muscle pain, headaches, followed by vomiting, diarrhea, internal, external bleeding. Death typically occurs 6 to 16 days after symptoms appear. There is no specific treatment for Ebola at this time. However, early diagnosis and supportive care can improve the chances of survival. And yeah, they said it was originated from fruit bats. The Pteropodi family. These bats are called the natural reservoir of the disease. Non-human primates are known to be susceptible to the virus, but they can develop severe fatal illnesses when infected, which limits viral circulation within the populations. Yeah, so there you have it, right? Interesting there. And I don't know which way we're going to go with this, but we've got quite a few. Matter of fact, let's start here. Rare unrest in Chinese city of Guangzhou as people protest over COVID restrictions. And I just want to show you right here. This just came out, man. And look, the video is already unavailable. Protesters poured out onto the streets of the southern Chinese city of Guangzhou in a rare demonstration against strict COVID-19 restrictions. And now the video is already private because it's a rare demonstration. China, they're a great firewall online. They don't allow anything to get through, But the video was circulated on social media, showed crowds of people marching through the Haizu district, breaking COVID barriers and noisy scenes. Cases have also been rising in other large Chinese cities, including Beijing, Chongqing, and Zhengzhou. China still operates a policy of strict lockdowns and quarantines, even after small outbreaks, which it says are necessary for public safety. So, like I said, governments can use this stuff for really fucked up things, and that's why America is so important. Honestly, it's about it's about things, our Constitution protecting us, and it's like we don't have that in other countries and in other areas. See, the U.S. being officially in a flu epidemic, federal health officials say, and are preparing to deploy troops and ventilators. And it's like, what the fuck, man? Everywhere you look, you see this shit happening, especially at this time. The influenza positive test reported to the CDC by U.S. clinical laboratories. This is a summary from May to October, the end of October 2022. Look at that. right? The yellow is A, the green is B, and so flu A and B, percent of positive test. If it's not COVID, it's the flu. The U.S. has crossed the epidemic threshold when it comes to flu, federal health officials say Friday, as they outlined the plan to deploy troops and FEMA personnel. Supplies like ventilators, if needed, in response to a nationwide surge of respiratory illnesses that also includes RSV and COVID. And we're not going to get super into this, but I'm going to show you too. I've got another article. Let's see if we can find this one here. I think it's back here. Yeah, right here. Scientists use mRNA technology to create a potent flu vaccine that could last for years. So there you have it, right? You see the connection here to these agendas. I can show you a direct connection and correlation, right, with Uganda and the Ebola shit, right, which we talked about like a couple years ago when all the C-19 shit broke. What would be the next level? And it was Ebola. And then you see here what happened of COVID and all of that with mRNA, right? And it's like, we're not even allowed to talk about that, you know, but what happened with all that? And now you see what's coming out again now with these flu, where emergencies are being declared, and mRNA technology for that as well, you know. So just, you know, putting that out there. See, months later, a trio of scientists published a paper that found that a virus put a novel strain of bacteria like some within the scientific community originally thought was to blame. Over the following decades, scientists unfurled the gnarly branches of the large influenza family tree, gathering information to formulate the vaccine, which hopefully most of us get before every flu season. Right, so there you have it right there. And the published paper, I don't know if we can even pull it. Yeah, well, it's not going to let us pull it up, guys. So, sorry about that. I tried, but yeah. So, there you have it. You know, there is a direct connection to that, just saying. So, just in case people, you know, are wondering. And that's same thing, deploying troops and National Guard and FEMA. We've seen the same shit with COVID. So, right? And other countries are running the same fucking playbook. And that's why you have articles like this one. Don't worry, sheep. The portal will open anytime soon. A great sheep mystery. Hundreds of sheep walk in a circle for over 10 days in China's Inner Mongolia. The sheep are healthy, and the reason for the weird behavior is still a mystery. Let's take a look at this weird-ass video, right? And you know, speaking of China, the unrest, I wonder if there's something else going on. Could it be like the magnetics? You know, a lot of people don't think about this, but cosmic energy does affect human consciousness. Solar flares, right? The magnetic field, this all affects us, guys. So let's see if we got this here. Wow. There you have it. There you have it, man. That's a different one. A little weird. It just reminds me of this. Thousands of Hajj pilgrims circle the cube-shaped Kaaba in Mecca. Wow. Yeah, I mean, you know, we see mass comparisons, right, to religious followers and sheeple. You know, we talk about organized religion and indoctrination on this channel quite a bit, and this is why. This is a prime example, you know. I don't want to attack any religion. Everybody's got their own spiritual beliefs and spiritual principles, but, you know, it's the blind following without questioning, you know. End of that, 44 years ago today, was the Jonestown Massacre. American preacher Jim Jones founded the cult in 1955, and in the years before the massacre, he'd established Jonestown as a utopia for his followers. Jones forced over 900 of his followers to drink fruit juice laced with cyanide. And there's your image, Jonestown, right? And that's where religion can lead, guys, you know. That's where it can lead. And I hate to say it, you know, that's happened many, many times. And horrible atrocities have been done in the name of religion, right? But not all people that are religious are bad. That's a fact, you know. Wake up, sheep will wake up. Is this due to the jab? At least they're slowly admitting lockdowns were bad. Europe faces cancer epidemic after estimated 1 million cases went undiagnosed during COVID lockdowns. We'll take a look here too. Rare meteor cluster recorded at Galstappen, Norway on October 30th, 10 seconds a period of time. A flurry of 23 meteors originating from the same region of the sky captured in Galstappen, Norway. Take a look here. Speaking of meteors, guys, we just had all of these meteors, these bolides, fireballs, asteroids, comets, because we just have better technology, better telescopes, better instruments in order to track and kind of look at these things, cameras and such. You know, or is it because we're going through a denser part of space that's creating all this traffic? Or, you know, are we at some type of cataclysmic cycle? You know, is the sun triggering a reaction? Are we passing a large comet, a dwarf star, a neutron star, right? Like, you know, what do you believe is why we're seeing all of the fireballs and the traffic, you know, more than at any other time in human history? A reminder, Qatar agreed to accept all of FIFA's sponsors to host the World Cup 2022. It did not force Brazil to change alcohol laws in 2014. Now that Qatar bans beer for the World Cup stadiums, nothing says welcome better than a nice doorbell. Oh, God. All right, guys. And Rats bop to the beat of music by Mozart, Lady Gaga, and Queen. Okay, let's take a look here. Demonstrating rhythm and harmony. That's so fucking stupid. That's so stupid, guys. I'm sorry I showed you that, but interesting, right? Let's take a look here too. Moving forward, war is hell. This is a picture of the streets of Kiev, Ukraine, after the Russian shelling. And before I show this, yeah, it's graphic. So 18 and up, watch my videos, right? My videos are not for kids. So just want to show you, you guys can make of this what you will. Is this fucking propaganda, CIA bullshit? What is this? When you see pictures like this, you tell me, is this the real fucking deal? The real results of war, you know, going on in Kiev? You know, I'll leave it up to you. Gansalve in Circe, another creepy Swiss tradition during which a dead goose is beheaded by a blindfolded thug wearing a sun mask and a red cloak. And this is fucking creepy. This is creepy. It reminds me of like Mithraism and Templars and just the red cloaks, you know, and the Romans, like these ritual sacrifices. This shit's so creepy, dude. For the sun worship. This takes place on Martin's Day, November the 11th, every year in front of the town hall in Circe, Canton, Lucerne, Switzerland. And the Swiss always doing this weird shit. During the ceremony, a blindfolded thug wearing a sun mask and a red cloak tries to behead a dead goose hanging on a wire rope with a saber blow. Wow. The traditional custom begins at 3 o'clock with a small procession through the Altagas to the square in front of the town hall where the goose is hung up. The thugs have to register. Women and men of all ages can act as thugs. Usually there are between 30 and 50 people, mostly young boys. The age of the participants is between 20 and 30 years. Okay.
Ihr seid da den ganzen Bau in Zorsi, wieso?
I guess this is the procession of thugs. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. After 3:15, the first thug can try his luck. The next ones are waiting in the town hall where they are blindfolded after drinking an obligatory glass of red wine. They put on a black pointed cap, a red coat, and a sun mask, and the thug is then accompanied by a drummer and a timpanist. Once a thug locates the Martin's goose hanging by the neck, he has one swing available to sever the head from the body with the blunt dragon saber. The first hitter rarely succeeds in this. It usually takes around 5 attempts. A total of 2 geese are available. This year, the goose was decapitated after 13 attempts. Here's the video of the winner thug. The suspense was killing me, guys. The suspense was killing me. That's fucking weird, man. That is a weird ritual indeed. I'm sure that doesn't have pagan roots and has nothing to do with any type of ritualistic sacrifice, blood offering, or anything like that. So don't worry about it, right? Pfizer wanted 75 years to release info, but the FBI only needs 66. Big progress, folks. FBI demands 66 years before releasing the Seth Rich laptop data. How about that? I'm sure we knew that was coming. Veterans Day, vandalized military recruiting ads in Louisville, Kentucky. And we see here, right, 22 vet suicides every day. And this one, for the rich. They fight to win for the rich. To be fair, all of the star systems discovered look nothing like ours. Oh, here we go. Raid of the home of the UFO researcher and the owner of DreamlandResort.com, Area 51 lore site, George Knapp, right? He has had everything related to it seized. FBI came down on the operator on popular website devoted to all things Area 51, right? So George Knapp's reporting on this, right? So the lore site, DreamlandResort.com, right? Of the home of the owner and UFO researchers. They were served 1 week ago. And yeah. 5G, Havana Syndrome. The Voyager Golden Records 2.0 records are included above. Spacecraft launch. Yeah, so here is an images that was the Voyager Golden records for 2 phonograph records that were included aboard both Voyager spacecraft launched allegedly in 1977. The records contain sounds and images selected to portray the diversity of life and culture on Earth. and are intended for any intelligent extraterrestrial life forms who may find them. The records are a sort of time capsule. Here are the images. So let's take a look at this too, guys. This was the images that NASA actually sent out to space allegedly in 1977 with Voyager.
The Voyager Golden records are 2 phonograph records that were included aboard both Voyager spacecraft launched in 1977. The records contain sounds and images selected to portray the diversity of life and culture on Earth, and are intended for any intelligent extraterrestrial life form who may find them. The records are a sort of time capsule. Although neither Voyager spacecraft is heading toward any particular star, Voyager 1 will pass within 1.6 light-years distance of the star Gliese in about 4.
Notice they sent DNA bases, DNA structure. You've seen on the golden records too, they used symbols which are energetic frequencies. Some of them were constellations and things like that as well, right? The planets, it's like the universal communication is the stars. It is mathematics. It is geometry, right? Symbols. These are representations of frequency, and we at a base level are able to receive those frequencies and interpret those throughout our bodies. And our bodies are an electrochemical, electromagnetic, organic, algorithmic machine that is, perceiving frequencies and signals all day long and interpreting them as sound and visions and shapes and colors. And we're able to create and make sounds and colors and shapes and with ourselves and project, right, that into the reality itself. It's beautiful. We are co-creators. We're special. I don't know if there's anything else out there. The heavenly host. I do believe, that we are all connected in this mind we call, universe or the stars. And it's sound and light and frequency vibrations bouncing back and forth. And we're part of this whole. So it's actually really cool. And even the sex organs, we know that it's all about reproduction. The Ouroboros, male and female, masculine and feminine, Wow. 1973, a Bengal boy was born with 2 heads, and the second head was upside down with a neck pointed straight up. The second head had a fully functional brain and whispered random stuff to the other brain. When the boy slept, the secondary head would often be observed alert and awake. Creepy! Creepy! Eyes darting about. When the main head was fed, the second head would produce saliva. Terrified parents tried to get rid of the baby by throwing him into a fire, but he survived to die at the age of 4 from a cobra bite. What in the hell? He died from a cobra bite. How do you get bit by a cobra when you're 4 years old? What the hell? Yeah, dude. Crazy. Twitter quietly dropped $8 paid verification. Tricking people's not okay, Musk says. Oh, Twitter imposter promises free insulin. After a verified Twitter imposter promises free insulin. That is fucked up. And footage published in the Russian A Vestia news site shows the moment a huge blast rocked the Nova Kachova Dam in Kherson. Debris can be seen flying off the dam while fire burns. The retreating Russian army has blown up all major infrastructure in the Kherson province. There is no longer any fixed crossing points between the liberated right bank of the Dnipro River and the occupied left, including the city of Nova Kakhovka. And these explosions and shit, these are, I wonder, controlled demolitions, and it makes one really wonder, if you've ever read the book 1984, when it talks about the perpetual war machine, read it, because these three superpowers, they continue, they fight at sea, basically, where nobody's around. It's part of depopulation. It's part of controlling the supplies, keeping just enough lack to drive up currency and make people feel like they need, governments and things like that. So the Britain test fires its high-energy laser weapon, and this is Dragonfire, the next generation laser.
Ben, I'm the technical partner with Dragonfire. So Dragonfire's laser-directed energy weapon demonstrator that we've been building in order to prove the technology around laser weapons to show that they're genuinely practicable technology for delivering weapon systems. Laser weapons are something that are brand new. We don't know what their benefits are going to be, technically whether it's actually going to be achievable to use them. But the sense is that this has the potential to be something that could be absolutely game-changing. Our current weapon systems are large, expensive, heavy, and the logistics chain required to move them around is extraordinary. Something which we can just fire using a laser weapon and have on our platforms is potentially going to be much cheaper and achieve the same effects.
Yeah, at a much lower cost. Yeah, so we're just going to be able to fire a laser weapon. Yeah. Thanks to Harvard, you can now virtually enter the Great Pyramid of Giza in 3D and 360. This is cool, actually. We should take us a 3D tour of this. Yeah, that's really interesting. I would love to see that, but the problem is, anybody who has ever been to a museum or any of these, ancient archaeological sites knows that we only are shown what they want us to see. That there is statues and things like that are intentionally broken or changed and covered up to hold into a narrative, one that they want us to believe, so I'm just saying, and the truth about the pyramid right here, latest with Joe Rogan, Grant Hancock, and Randall Carlson.
I know Fingerprints of the Gods you released in the 90s. It was
1995.
That's when I first read it,
Yeah.
and I became obsessed. What motivated you to put that out?
It was a process, really. I used to be a current affairs journalist. I was the East Africa correspondent for The Economist. I had no interest in history whatsoever, but I began to come across things, particularly traveling initially in Ethiopia and then in Egypt, which made me wonder about the past. And, standing in front of the Great Pyramid of Egypt is an awe-inspiring experience, especially when you've never seen it before. And in 1989, when I first saw it, I had never seen it before. 6 million tons, 481 foot high, 13-acre footprint, this massive thing. And archaeologists are saying it's just the tomb of a pharaoh. And yet no pharaoh's body was ever found inside it, or indeed inside any ancient Egyptian pyramid.
Yeah, and you know, I tend to think that this thing was used for spiritual transmutation, transfiguration, some type of fucking signal being sent out into space. Who knows? It looks to be some type of generator. You know, generates hydrogen energy, electromagnetic energy. Some, you know, the ley lines, a planetary grid. There's no telling what this thing was used for, but it's not just the tomb of a couple of dead pharaohs. It had rituals written all over the walls. And I've talked about this. I believe that these rituals were actually for the living. This was a temple of initiation, a temple of the mysteries, enlightenment. There was something special about it. The energy, it did have electricity in it. I showed one of my last videos, I believe, that, you know, the light bulbs on the walls, you know, within the pyramid itself, showing they had electricity. There was not even enough oxygen to light torches, you know, so it's absolutely something far more than anything we were told. It's either far older or far younger. It speaks of a time where humanity was far more evolved, you know, and able to do things that we're not able to do right now. How about this terrifying video? Inland tsunami as dam spills and floods hundreds of homes and businesses in NSW floods disasters Australia. Wow. Giant tsunami engulfs the NSW towns as dam spills in Australia, causing unprecedented flooding in November. This is a wall of water bringing devastation in New South Wales town, with more than 220 people rescued from flooding in the past 24 hours. And look at that. Yeah. Torrents of water. You know, we've talked about this, man. You know, at the end of these cycles, lots of, you know, cataclysmic, catastrophic energy out there, too. A high undersea volcano likely erupting beneath Pacific Ocean in the northern Marianas. And, you know, we've seen a lot of things with Pacific Ocean, you know, Tonga. Strong indication the undersea volcano in northern Marianas could be an eruption. For several weeks, the USGS have been detecting acoustic underwater signals that bear signatures of underwater explosions. They're now able to pinpoint their sources in the Aihe Seamount located in the Pacific, about 3,800 miles west of Honolulu. If it's true, the volcano's eruption likely started in mid-October when the signals appeared. Ships in the area are advised to avoid the area and be cautious in case the eruption produces, including steam, floating pumice rocks, gases, etc., reach the surface. So, you know, they're telling people to steer clear of it. How about this? And this is your wonderful government at work, secret research. Why did the CIA feed children radioactive cereal? That is a really good fucking question, right? Why did the CIA feed children radioactive cereal? Hearing blast secret radiation research. When Fred Boyce and dozens of other boys joined the science club at Fernald State School in 1949, it was more about the perks than the science. Club members scored tickets to the Boston Red Sox games, trips off the school grounds, gifts like Mickey Mouse watches, and lots of free breakfasts. But Fernald wasn't an ordinary school, and the free breakfasts in the science club weren't your average bowl of cereal. The boys were being fed Quaker oatmeal laced with radioactive tracers. The Fernald State School, originally called the Massachusetts School for the Feeble-Minded, housed mentally disabled children along with those who had been abandoned by their parents. Conditions at the school were often brutal. Staff deprived boys of meals, forced them to do manual labor, and abused them. Boyce, who lived there after being abandoned by his family, was eager to join the science club. He hoped the scientists, in their position of authority, might see the mistreatment and put an end to it. We didn't know anything at the time, Boyce said of the experiments. We just thought we were special. Learning the truth about the club felt like a deep betrayal. The boys didn't find out the whole story about their contaminated cereal for another 4 decades. During a stretch between the late 1940s and early 1950s, Robert Harris, a professor of nutrition at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, led 3 different experiments involving 74 Fernald boys ages 10 to 17. As part of the study, the boys were fed oatmeal and milk laced with radioactive iron and calcium. In another experiment, scientists directly injected the boys with radioactive calcium. The Fernald students' experiment was just one among dozens of radiation experiments approved by the Atomic Energy Commission. Between 1945 and 1962, more than 210,000 civilians and GIs were exposed to radiation, often without knowing it. What seems unthinkable in today's era of ethics review boards and informed consent was standard procedure at the dawning of the atomic age. John Lantos, a pediatrician at University of Missouri Kansas City School of Medicine and expert in medical ethics, says the experiments were indicative of America's post-war mindset. Technology was good. We were the leaders. We were the good guys. So anything we did could not be bad, he says. It wasn't until the 70s, after the Tuskegee study, that Congress passed federal regulation requiring a specific kind of oversight. The Tuskegee study is the benchmark example of medical abuse and involved hundreds of African American men with syphilis who were promised treatment but never received it. In another case reminiscent of the one at Fernald, students at Willowbrook State School, also considered mentally handicapped, were purposely exposed to the hepatitis A virus so that researchers could develop a vaccine. Wow. The plutonium files, radiation experiments on U.S. citizens.
Democracy Now! and democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman. In a Massachusetts school, 73 disabled children were spoon-fed oatmeal laced with radioactive isotopes. An upstate New York hospital, an 18-year-old woman, believing she was being treated for a pituitary disorder, was injected with plutonium.
Jesus,
At
dude.
Tennessee clinic, 829 pregnant women were served vitamin cocktails, they thought, but they contained radioactive iron
Pregnant
as
women.
part of their regular treatment. No, these are not acts of terrorism by common criminals. These are just some of the secret human radiation experiments that the U.S. government conducted on unsuspecting Americans for decades as part of its atom bomb program. In a gruesome plot that spanned 30 years, doctors and scientists working with the U.S. atomic weapons program exposed thousands of unwilling and unknowing Americans to radiation poisoning to study its effects. For years,
Yeah. So, when people talk about TIs, targeted individuals, and electronic torture and electronic harassment, right, and how that doesn't go on and all of that, it's fucking insane. Because the United States government's been experimenting, doing fucking weird shit on the citizens for a long time and not giving a fuck about the consequences or who doesn't like it. So to think that it's stopped or, with our new silent warfare, millimeter wave technology, directed energy technology, we all of a sudden went from nuclear radiation, where we experimented on our citizens, to now using directed energy, and we don't do that, you're crazy, dude. There's been far too many, leaks and evidence, white papers, documents showing that's exactly what we do, still do today, just with a different technology. In silence, G20 leaders have just signed a declaration which states that vaccine passports will be adopted to facilitate all international travel. Say, what? Just when you thought this freaking war on COVID, unvaccinated, had ended, G20 leaders have just signed a declaration which states that vaccine passports will be adopted to facilitate all international travel. This means any vaccination the WHO determines you should have, changing your rights and freedoms forever. And of course, silence from the fucking media. We support efforts to strengthen prevention and response to future pandemics that should capitalize and build on the success of the existing standards and digital COVID-19 certificates. G20 Bali Leaders Declaration 2022. We acknowledge the importance of shared technical standards and verification methods under this framework of IHR 2005 to facilitate seamless international travel, interoperability, and recognizing digital solutions and non-digital solutions, including proof of vaccinations. Reads paragraph 23 of the G20 Bali Leaders Declaration. And on the 23rd of November, we have the new moon in Sagittarius, right? So 23, I'm just telling you, they do these things with the astrology, the G20, so they do, whether you believe that or not. Here's the whole G20 Bali Leaders Declaration if you want to read it. The paragraph article can be found under the point 23. Let's see here. Fucking crazy. Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of the G20, why are Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab at the G20? Right? It just gets better and better, don't it? Why is Klaus Schwab at the G20 summit in Bali, Indonesia? Why is Bill Gates attending the G20? Why are these two enemies of the people participants on the same level as leaders of sovereign countries? Klaus Schwab, the world will look differently after we have gone through this transition. Yeah, it is fucking crazy, These guys, this is world leaders, and they're kicking it with them, It's not the first time that Gates has intervened at G20. He was already present in 2011. Yesterday he was accompanied by another prominent guest, the even more globalist Klaus Schwab, and here is his speech. And this is the full speech at the G20 in Indonesia by motherfucking Klaus Schwab.
Excellencies,
Excellencies, distinguished people. Let's see, let's make sure we got the sound going. Excellencies.
participants of this very important meeting.
So participants of this
Let me
very
first
important meeting.
Congratulate the government, the President government of Indonesia for exercising such a great hospitality for all of us who are here. I would also like to express
Just moving on, brother.
address the big issues in what we have to confront.
And you know what? And this motherfucker, play by play, C19 in his book, right? The way shit unfolded, this guy is like the king of asshats when it comes to, watching, everything that happened over the last few years, the way it played out, along with Gates. It's like, anybody who thinks that we're not already in the one world system is tripping.
It's a deep, systemic, and structural restructuring of our world.
Systemic
And this will take
restructuring
some
of our
time.
world.
And the world will look differently after we have gone through this transition process. Politically, the driving forces for this political transformation, of course, is the transition into a multipolar world, which has a tendency to make our world much more fragmented. And for this,
Wow, a multipolar world which has a tendency to make our world much more fragmented.
reasons, events like this one, the G20, and so on, are the very important connectors to avoid a too great segmentation, I would say, blocization instead of globalization of our world.
Yeah, you can listen to that if you want. I advise you do. Actually, I would say if you really want to educate yourself on what the fuck's going on, you know, what direction they're taking things, it's watching stuff like this that's actually going to give you a lot of insight, seeing where they're going with, you know, the whole agenda. It's very obvious at this point, you know, which direction we're headed, you know. Very obvious which direction we're headed. And hey, you know, the ideologies of, and we're going to take a look here too. To my knowledge, the Great Reset means putting the world on hold and starting over with something else. There's a key phrase in this book. The pandemic must be a window of opportunity. To do what? Well, to change society and to digitize it. The apostles of globalization, represented by Schwab, want a world freed from its borders but intrusive in the individual sphere. The ideology of the Davos elite is to defeat nations, people, and democracies, to leave the field open to markets, to the great finance and mandatory multiculturalism. Its recipes are well known and comprise, among others, abolition of all borders and all protections, mass immigration imposed on people, banks' stranglehold on the economy, cultural and moral weakening of states and nations. So why were Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab at the G20? Because they are the leaders of a new club that is ruling the world and wants some more powerful subscribers. Yes, it's a big club and you ain't in it. That's why. Isn't that the fucking truth? George Carlin said that. It's a club and you ain't in it. World War III is postponed while moon and space conspiracies accelerate. Little is publicly known about the classified spacecraft and experiment it hosts. Mysterious space plane lands on Earth after circling planet for over 2 years. Finally, Artemis has a successful launch. Do you think it really took place? No. I'll answer that for you. The Artemis, you know, peace on the fucking moon nonsense, right, taking place right with the Middle Eastern peace deal and all that shit, guys. We've watched all of this already, have we not? The UAE, and then, you know, with the Pope bringing all the religions together there as well. Really weird and biblical, you know, as far as the things that are taking place across the globe. Really strange times. And we're going to get into some of that too. There's a lot of people right now that believe we're at the end of a cycle, the end of an era, the end of an age, the end of the world. Who knows? You know, but I don't believe this. I don't believe shit that comes out of NASA. You know, according to NASA, the giant Artemis 1 rocket successfully launched from the Kennedy Space Center on November the 16th at 1:47 a.m. The thrilling, thunderous launch lit up the night sky and shook the ground with almost 9 million pounds of thrust. NASA says that the Orion crew capsule, unoccupied for the first test flight, is now on its way to the moon. Yeah. Okay. So what now? NATO Article 5 on Ukraine. Biden says Ukraine air defense missile responsible for the Poland blast. Don't mind us as we incite NATO into World War III. AP News article 10 hours apart. No edit, statement, or retractions. Spreading misinformation before any investigation was done. And you can take a look. Here's the two articles. Russian missiles cross into Poland during strike on Ukraine. Poland, Russian-made missile fell on our country, killing 2. How about that? Techno-authoritarianism is here to stay. China, the deep state have joined forces. Greek tourists vandalized the Egyptian tomb of Ramses V over 2,000 years ago. Ancient graffiti says, I visited and did not like anything but the sarcophagus, and I cannot read the hieroglyphs. What the fuck? That's funny. Now they spray homes, trains, and tombstones too. Jewish cemetery vandalized with swastikas in Chicago. Kanye was right. Kanye is right. Graffiti found spray painted in red, appearing like blood on Jewish tombstones at a cemetery in Chicago. We have no words for this depravity and evil. Okay. Danish news reporter trying to report on the World Cup is interrupted by Qatar security live on air. Security threatened to smash his camera while the journalist is still rolling. Yeah, let's take a look.
retsland, der jo altså bliver udsat for en hel del kritik. Hvordan oplever du forholdene lige nu?
Jamen, vi kan jo vise, hvordan forholdene er lige her, hvis vi drejer kameraet. We are live on Danish television, og der kan I se, nu bliver vi stoppet med at filme, og det er forholdene her. Mister, you invited the whole world to you invited the whole world to come here. Why can't we film? It's a public place. This is the accreditation. Okay. We can film anywhere we want. Okay. There are only, of course.
Only for the Qatar. Qatar, you have because the Qatar is.
No. We don't need permit. But listen. But you can break the camera. You want to break the camera? Okay, you break the camera. Okay. Yes. So you're threatening us by smashing the camera.
Wow, fucking crazy, yeah. Woo! Oh my god. Does the Iranian government do anything other than meet up to discuss who they want to kill? Iran tried to assassinate British residents 10 times this year, MI5 reveals. Wow. The sky is like burning. How about that? Yeah, and that's why people believe in Planet X. Right fucking there, you know. Pictures like that. Very crazy. And if you turn it the right side up, you turn it 90 degrees, you get a giant humanoid. Maybe it is, right? Maybe God's laying down next to us in the sky. Who knows, guys? Okay. Who knows? And Canadians, you may face a few shortages next month. Xi giving Trudeau a hard time at the G20 after Trudeau leaked their conversation the day before to the press. That is not appropriate and not the way the conversation was conducted.
Everything we discussed is then leaked to the paper. That's not appropriate. And that's not how the way the conversation was conducted.
He's checking his ass, dude. Wow.
If there is sincerity on your part,
free and open and frank dialogue, and that is what we will continue to have. We will continue to look to work constructively together, but there will be things we will disagree on, and we will have to.
Let's create the conditions first.
Damn, because Trudeau's a little fucking snake, basically, right? So he leaks their conversation that they have, and Xi straight checked him. That was actually crazy, you know. Wow. And Trudeau just acted like it was all good. He's like, no, let's create the conditions first, you know. Quit acting like a little bitch, leaking our conversations out to the public. How about that? Right? How about that? And all these harbingers of doom popping up constantly around the globe to warn us that the world is just about to collapse. A deep sea harbinger of doom, 15-foot oarfish from the ocean washed up in the beach in Chile. How about that? Giant fucking oarfish. That's weird, right? It's a harbinger, and just 4 days after discovery, 400 miles to the north, a shallow and strong magnitude 6.2 earthquake. And 4.2 million bolts have been registered within 48 hours over Australia this weekend. Supercell in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Wow, that is pretty wild. Thing is huge. Yeah, pretty crazy. And here we go, weather warfare over Australia as 4.2 million bolts are registered within 48 hours. That's not natural. That's not climate change. That's weather warfare. More than 4.2 million lightning strikes hit mainland Australia during wild weekend thunderstorms. And let's take a look. Interesting, guys. I don't know if that's weather warfare or not, but I know that it's very common now. Adelaide homes without power after the storm. Yeah. You know, we see this being more and more common. The animation below shows the weekends over Australia with lightning affecting every part of the state and territory, active during both the day and night, down to Tasmania. Let's take a look here. And you can see the lightning activity right on the goes. Wow. Wow. Yeah, that is pretty wild. Pretty wild, man. Lots and lots of activity, so. Not surprised, though, you know? Not surprised. Sorry, guys. Just not surprised at all. Not at this point in the game. Moving up and moving on. Let's see here, guys. Sorry. Videos captured a fireball flashing across the Toronto skyline before it struck Earth near Niagara Falls. Fireball lit up a neighborhood over Toronto. The fireball was captured in several videos, including one that showed up as it appeared to pass by the CN's tower. And I think this is a video we didn't get to see at the beginning here. Let's see if we can. Yeah, this is it. This is the tower cam. Right before it struck the earth. And like I said, this is like becoming a common ass thing now, guys. You know, fireballs on the daily. On the daily. North Korea's leader showed off his daughter. What could it mean, right? He took his daughter to a missile launch, and people are speculating, like, what's up with that with Kim Jong-un? Right, photos provided by his government, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and his daughter are shown at the site of a missile launch at Pyongyang International Airport. And this is him and his little girl. What is a clue about Kim's succession plans? Though the girl is not yet in her teens, and given the strange setting, who was the target audience for these images? Accurately dividing the communications released by North Korea, one of the most closed countries in the world, is an educated guessing game at best. Its propaganda can carry multiple messages simultaneously and can serve as a type of Rorschach test for differing opinions. But many experts agree the photograph's release was an intriguing move by Kim that sheds light on how he may want to be viewed as a leader and father, both domestically and by the international community. So, yeah, I don't know. They always want to make some big deal anytime he fucking releases anything, right? It's crazy. China tests hypersonic engine that can push aircraft to 9 times the speed of sound. It uses aviation kerosene, which is far less explodey than hydrogen, which is crazy, right? It's far less explodey than hydrogen. So, yeah. And China just kicking her ass on basically everything, right? When it comes to technology. Look at the fucking images of this thing. How wild is that, right? Pretty crazy. Chinese researchers claim to have successfully tested a hypersonic detonation engine that can push a aircraft up to Mach 9, blistering 9 times the speed of sound. What's more, the engine uses aviation kerosene as fuel, which carries neither the cost nor the risk of explosion that hydrogen solutions do. So that's fucking interesting. And it's always interesting to see when they choose to release this stuff. New discovery in the fight against COVID could lead to a long-lasting vaccine that works on all variants of the ever-mutating virus, right? I know you guys are lining up for this shit. You cannot wait. Okay. With new COVID variants and sub-variants evolving faster and faster, each chipping away at the effectiveness of the leading vaccines, the hunt is on for a new kind that works equally well on current and future forms of the novel virus. Now researchers at the National Institute of Health, the NIH, in Maryland, think they found a new approach to vaccine design that could lead them to the long-lasting jab. As a bonus, it might also work on other things, not just SARS-CoV-2. The NIH team reported its findings in a peer-reviewed study that appeared in the journal Cell Health. The key to the NIH's potential vaccine is part of the virus called the spine helix, the coil-shaped structure inside the spike protein, the part of the virus that helps it grab onto and infect our cells. Yeah, you should not be stressing that at all, right? The fact that it's in the spine helix, and that's what actually allows it to attach onto us. Very weird. Let's see here, this is a study. The results, the identification of MABS that broadly neutralized beta coronaviruses. We selected the convalescent donors that had plasma reactivity to diverse beta coronaviruses from previously described cohorts. They were screened in a two-step workflow that utilized sequential oligoclonal and monoclonal B cell structure down to select B cells of interest. Recombinant mAbs were screened for binding spike proteins, as well as the alpha coronaviruses. We isolated 6 of them that targeted multiple genera by binding the conserved fusion peptide. From this screen, we obtained a panel of 54 that were broadly reactive. Yeah, well, 70% were bound to the spikes of 5 human infecting betas. We next screened 55, and they neutralized at least 1 virus. Yeah, dude, you need a fucking I mean, we've seen what the transmission of the spike protein in people after they've been touched and after they have not. We've seen the healing rate after people have not participated and after they have, the side effects. I think it all speaks for itself. I'm not going to talk about it. U.S. got a war. HIMARS set to form NATO Eastern Shield against Russia. The U.S.-made M142 high-mobility artillery rocket system, HIMARS, is a breakout star of Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine, used by Ukrainian defenders to inflict devastating damage on Moscow's troop concentrations and supply hubs as Kiev's forces push multi-prolonged counteroffensives. And you've seen the fucking images from, Kiev earlier, right? So, this is pushing this more and more, so edging closer to Armageddon.
Investigation into this incident is ongoing, and we need to await its outcome. But we have no indication that this was the result of a deliberate attack. And we have no indication that Russia is preparing offensive military actions against NATO. Our preliminary analysis suggests that the incident was likely caused by a Ukrainian air defense missile fired to defend Ukrainian territory against Russian cruise missile attacks.
So there's no indication that it was a deliberate attack, but they obviously don't give a fuck either way, right? And so, and you know what? Ever since, too, we've seen kind of all this unfold over Ukraine. There's, been this big push on social media to support this, right? This has just been another thing to kind of amp up the anti-Russian rhetoric. And now we see here too, this is actually interesting also. A Twitter user gets an account back after a ban for intimate image of a meteor. This is fucking crazy. Oxfordshire astronomer was locked out for 3 months after apparent automated moderation error. The account was suspended, and this was blocked on Twitter for tweeting a picture of a meteor that was deemed to have breached guidelines on intimate content. Say, what the fuck? So she drops a picture of a meteor, and then they block her account? You know, so this kind of makes you wonder, like, why? You know, and her account was locked 3 months ago after she tweeted a video of a meteor passing through the night sky over her home. She initially received a 12-hour ban after being told the clip contained intimate content that couldn't be shared without a participant's consent. It was not offensive or pornographic at all. It was just a meteor, is what she said. And here's the ionization trail from the Perseid fireball. Visually, it was epic. So, is this it? Is this the video right here? That's so crazy, dude. And I'm not surprised at all, because we always see this kind of shit. Anything that's shared they don't want to be shared, or, you know, doesn't come from the official narrative, you know. It'll be tough to stop an asteroid at the last minute, but not impossible, a study claims. On September 26, 2022, NASA's Double Asteroid Redirection Test, DART, made history when it rendezvoused with the asteroid Didymos and impacted with its movement, Dimorphos. The purpose was to test the kinetic impact method, a means of defense against potentially hazardous asteroids, where spacecraft collides with them to alter their trajectory. Based on the follow-up, the test succeeded, since DART managed to shorten Dimorphos' orbit by 22 minutes. The impact also caused the moonlet to grow a visible tail, which was pretty interesting. However, Hollywood loves to remind us there are scenarios where planet-killing asteroids get very close to Earth before we could do anything to stop it, and there's no shortage of NEAs that could become potential threats someday. The study, which recently appeared in Acta Astronautica, was conducted by Alberto Dominguez, Victor Moreno, and Francisco Cabral, 3 researchers affiliated with the Spanish satellite developer GMV. And for the sake of their paper, the research team presented GMV's recent work in a GNC System 4 kinetic impact mission. In the recent years, space agencies investigated multiple strategies for deflecting asteroids that pose a collision threat with the Earth. And nuclear standoffs, gravity tractors, kinetic impactors. And the nuclear impacts consist of detonating a nuclear device in the vicinity of an asteroid. Gravity tractor involves flying a ship around an asteroid to deviate its course. And only the kinetic impactor is feasible for deflecting PHAs. So, you know what? I don't even think these motherfuckers go to space. Just keeping it real. I don't know if we can leave the atmosphere or leave the firmament, you know. So it's very interesting too, because they say that if their little missions to deflect them with kinetic impactors wouldn't work, that they would then use directed energy to kind of cut the shit in half, which I don't know. You know, I feel like that would be the only thing they even possibly do. We see asteroids are a good thing in astrology, despite what Hollywood had you believe. Asteroids are not harbingers of apocalyptic destruction. In astrology, they are celestial bodies that add nuance, dimension, and unique perspective to your individual chart. And you know what? I think that's how they always bend and twist the perception and shit too, is it not? Like, they make you something that's actually positive. And I was just talking about this with somebody the other day. Like, you know, asteroids add like this unique kind of chaotic influence on our individual astrology, our collective astrology. They add a flair to things and make it incredibly interesting too when it comes to our astrology and how we'll be affected by the energies. But we have this real negative perception of them because they're associated with destruction and, you know, devastation and catastrophe in the way that they're perceived, especially, you know, religiously and all of that. So, yeah. But they're not all bad, obviously, because in astrology, some of it's a good thing. dinosaur killing asteroid unleashed history's most terrifying tsunami, and this is why people associate them with shit that's really bad, because every destruction in the history of Earth, every catastrophic ending to a cycle, seemed to happen with an asteroid that fucking smashed into the planet, you know. And we do have the scars and marks all over the planet as well, you know, just kind of show that these things have taken place. And I think finally, and the last one here. NASA study rising sea levels could exceed the estimate for the U.S. coast. You know, and this is another thing too. I feel like, you know, if we did have something to impact off of the coast, you know, the tsunamis, the devastation from that, and we're seeing with, you know, the weather manipulation, modification, geoengineering, and all the different things that are taking place with that, just the magnetic poles and their shift and how that's having an effect on, you know, the cyclonic weather cycle, you know, the atmosphere, gases and the auroras and all the things that are being created geomagnetically across the Earth. Right, this is what's causing the rise in the sea level of the coast, and you know, we did videos talking about this years ago. Like, you know, within however many years, in the next couple of decades, you know, within 100 miles of the coast, people would have to move away from that. If there ever was some type of catastrophe or asteroid impact, anybody within 100 miles of the coast would be decimated. You know, and I feel like all the flood maps and, you know, the geological data, it shows that to be true. You know, and I feel like this is not the first time, too, that parts of the Earth that were once populated are now dipping underwater. That's why we have stories like Atlantis, right, the lost civilization of Atlantis, Atlantis of the Atlantic Ocean, Atlas of the Atlantic, right, Poseidon, the children of the waters that separate the heavens above and below the firmament, life, water holding memory, and it being, you know, essential to life on Earth, making up 80% of the human body as well as 70% of the Earth, you know. So we have these, you know, great tales, you know, pre-diluvian, antediluvian of flooding and all of that, where the face of the Earth is changed. You know, even if we look at like Pangea and the expansion of all the continental plates, and every prophecy talking about land masses rising and falling due to asteroid impacts or pole reversals. So, I mean, this is something that I think it's actually went a lot faster, and we knew that it would. They blame it on global warming, but this isn't from cars, right? This isn't from cars. This is from magnetics, and it's creating anomalous points on the field that allow more of cosmic rays and radiation to come in, right, which generate heat and dissipate the field, or what we call ozone, right, which is that protection from space radiation, you know. So, and it mutates things down on the ground level. And every time we have the end of a cycle, which we're at the end of one, right, it's the precession of the equinox going into the Aquarian age. Every time we have the end, these catastrophic, cataclysmic things happen on the Earth, and we see all across the geological data that there's these large mutations too. All the species on the Earth changed or altered, and we know why. Because the sun is it's more active at this point in space that it's at, generating more mass ejections and flares when it goes through maximums. The field is then weakened, allowing more of that energy, that information to come in. You know, consciousness changes, expands, human life changes. The length of our life, the amount of intelligence that we have changes, right? Our brain activity changes because we're electromagnetic beings. And in essence, the weather changes, all of that, which are eating habits, the ecosystem, right? So we have a complete kind of restructuring of the Earth and all of the life on it, you know, at the end of these cosmic cycles. And we're at the end of the greatest of them, right? This is the equinox. This is the changing of the guard, if you will, going from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age, so a water age to an air age, right? So we're going to see things change at a base level because the element is changing, the theme is changing overall in humanity. And we've seen these cycles happen time and time again. Look at the pyramids and Tiwanaku and all these places across the Earth, right, where ancient civilizations have gotten to a high point in consciousness and awareness, and then it's been tossed the fuck down, and we start over again, right? And we forget it, we lose our memory. It's probably because the magnetic field falls and reverses, and it probably erases our ass. That's why we write down symbols and shit like that all over the place into rocks. That way we never forget it, right? It's like kind of re-uploading the Akashic record, you know, or the conscious record of humanity. Because without our history, you know, it's like we lose those people. We lose that part of ourselves. You know, it's like I feel like that remembrance is how we evolve and kind of grow and expand. So I guess that's all I have for you for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know what you think, share this link, get it out there, spread it far and wide. Make sure to subscribe, click the bell to get the notifications. Donate, support, the links are in the description box below. You can join the Best Damn Fam, get access to private and exclusive content, our Dropbox, as well as the shows on Discord. Book a personal tarot reading, 513-393-2396, or email therealbestdampodcast@gmail.com. They're good gifts for Christmas, birthdays, for you, for someone else, or just to check out the energies and the shit that's going on spiritually within your life as well. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.